So in this module, we're going to be working with the Tag Grid slider. As an example, we're going to be implementing the Tag Grid slider on the intermediate page. This one's called SLF, just so that I can find it later. So if you go into the page content folder, which exists underneath all parent pages, and then select the Tag Grid slider. When the intermediate page is created, by default these components are going to populate within this green page content folder. So there will always be a Tag Grid slider number 1. You can change the name of that if you like. I wouldn't do that unless you have several and it becomes difficult to delineate which is which. But for now, I'm going to leave it as it is. And normally the quick info section will be expanded where you can see the item name and just various pieces of information about the component. But as you scroll down, the listing data, search settings are really going to be the two areas on this component that you'll need to calibrate in order to see results. So each tag grid can have a title. So if we scroll down to this tag grid, it says tag grid right here in the title. We can change this to featured category. It can also be a tag, of course, because it's a tag grid. The button title, which here says read more. The button title is what we see at the bottom of each section or each article that fits within this grid. We can change that to anything really. Read more seems to be the most appropriate, so I'm going to leave it right now. The button link is a little bit different. If you go here, you'll see 1576 smoke test. That's actually a page that leads to that link leads to. So you'll see 1576 smoke test is the actual piece of content that it's linked to. So if we want to change that, we can insert a new link, and this will bring up the file tree. You can select any piece of content from within your site. I'm going to choose the campaign page for now, and then if I want to change the description, I can. Insert that link, and as we go down, we'll see search settings. So listing records start. That means if we have 1,000 articles that apply to the taxonomies that we're about to select, or the categories, tags, whatever the sorting mechanism we use, how many of those do we want to pull into this tag grid? By default, it's going to be 1 to 12. That can be as many as you like. The one thing to keep in mind is page load speed. Keeping it at 12 or in that neighborhood will help the page index the results in a more timely manner. So I would leave that 1 to 12 unless you have a really good reason for adding more. The date start range and end, those are options. You can relegate your results to a specific date range, like the last year. The sort options, you can select if these articles come in at the latest, or the most recent rather, or most popular. By default, it's selected by latest. And then the search route will allow you to select from a specific directory of results. Right now, we're in UMC, the home and the search folder. I'm going to leave that there for now, but just know that if we want to display results from another directory, we can do that. So, priority articles. By default, none of these articles will be selected as priority. And what that means is, if we set up all these filtering mechanisms and no results show up, then the priority articles will show up. Likewise, it also means that if we have 1,000 results for the tag grid, but we want these 6 items or these 9 items to appear at the top, the priority items will always appear at the top, regardless of other results. So if you want a specific piece to appear, you can. As you move down this page, you'll also see exclude category and exclude tag. Those are fairly self-explanatory. They allow you to omit specific categories. Once the site is live, categories will list here, and you'll be able to navigate those. For now, because we don't have a content folder, there are no categories assigned. Exclude tag, just like you're assigning a tag to another piece of content, you can choose any appropriate tag. Just know anytime you're in this select box, the selection that you put at top will take priority, or it will be the more important of the two. So when these two are in conflict or in contest with one another, the administration will always win out. You can change the order of importance by using the arrows to the right. Include category is the most logical sorting mechanism. When the categories are here, you'll select a category, and all of the articles that appear within that category will populate in your tag grid. Tags have already been imported, so you can select specific tags. Administration, Advent, and Way Forward are the ones that I've chosen, with administration being the highest priority. Again, we can move a way forward to the very top or one at a time by using the arrows to the right. So now we've made all the selections necessary to populate this tag grid. I'm going to save. If you're done making changes and you don't plan on altering any other component on this page, you can publish the item. But what I like to do instead is go to the page itself, and especially if you've altered more than one component, and we'll publish the page. From the page, you can select Publish Sub-Items, which will include the various components on the page. Click Publish. You want to proceed, OK. For the record, you only need to select related items if images or other items were added to your content as you were updating the component. So normally you won't need to select those related items, even though it was checked in my publishing queue. I'm going to close the Publish Item box. Then we're going to go back to the intermediate page and reload. So you notice that the change I made to the button text, or the description, when I selected the page for this tag grid, campaign page link was updated, and that was done down here in the insert link area. Sorry, gotta go down from the on the page. So we go back to the tag grid slider, and when we insert the link for the button right here, sorry, got a little lost in the listing data. Button link, insert the link. You notice that in the campaign page is what I selected. Campaign page link is the description of that one, so that's why that appears here. Additionally, we chose 9 items. If you scroll, you'll notice that you only get 2 more items. The reason for that is this column is set up to be 2 columns tall, or to be 2 rows tall by default. That can be updated by going into the tag grid. The simplest way to change the tag grid slider from 2 rows, like we saw before, to a single row, is to go over to the Publish tab and hit Experience Editor. Now the Experience Editor will have its own training module, but for now, the tag grid, reducing it to a single row, is a useful operation. So I'll just cover that piece, and then we'll get more in depth later. So the Experience Editor highlights every component on the page. Some of them you're going to want to interact with. Others, it's best just to leave as they are presented. As we scroll down, the sidebar, really you want to leave as it is, but here we have the tag grid slider that we're looking to edit. If you select the tag grid slider and then click More, you have an option to edit the component properties. Here, you have various component settings that are really your most useful settings. CSS styles, there are various tag grid slider options. For now, we'll cover that later, but just know that different styles can be applied to different components by selecting the control properties. Here, you have an option for the number of rows that appear on the tag grid. I'm going to set that to 1. OK. And then it'll take a second, but I'm going to save, and you'll see they all fall in line on the Experience Editor. Something to keep in mind with Preview and Experience Editor, JavaScript items, including the tag grid, do not display as expected all the time. But you'll notice that there was a change. We save, and then we're going to click to Home to get this additional menu to publish. And then publish our changes. Are you sure you want to proceed? Yes. This will take just a minute to publish the change. Okay. Close. And then to actually see the JavaScript items, including the tag grid update, I'm going to close out of the editor, and then we'll preview the page. And you can see that we went from 2 rows to 1. We'll cover the Experience Editor in more depth in future modules, but you can see that there were 9 articles. If you click through, we have 9 pieces of content, even though some of the content has the same thing.